Welcome to Public Comment. I'm John Dunbar, former mayor of Yountville.
And I'm Alfredo Pedroza, farmer.
Thank you for joining us as we talk about politics, people, and whatever else is on our minds in our latest 5 for 5 episode.
If I had a buzzer, John, I would buzz you right now.
I know, we don't have a buzzer.
There's this hesitation to try to help people in a time when there's a lot of hurt.
It's about creating another layer of tax.
And it takes guts because they're spending real money on it.
And to make it harder to be successful is not helping. 5 different topics for less than 5 minutes each. A little bit of a speed round. So, Alfredo, how about we start with congratulating some of our local government officials on creating opportunities with some property acquisitions and some potential development for our community.
Positivity, John.
Yeah.
I'm impressed and excited that you're willing to congratulate the government. Look, I think what the town of Yountville is doing with, purchasing the school site.
The Yountville Commons.
Yountville Commons, City of Napa with Harvest. And look, there's a lot of things that we can complain about, but they're doing something. I do think there's an intention to do good, to create community space, to repurpose it, to maybe say, hey, yes, a private developer could do it, but we could also guide it into something positive. And it takes guts because they're spending real money on it. How they get the money, that's for them to decide. But that's good, John. I think that's exciting.
Well, I know when we were both in office, I won't speak for you, but I'll speak for me about it, and I'm sure you had similar experiences. Most of the time, you only hear about the bad stuff.
Yeah.
You only hear complaints.
Yeah.
And so I want to make sure that we acknowledge that, for example, the Measure G sales tax increase in Napa, the city of Napa, that this council immediately got to work and started repaving roads.
Yeah.
I don't totally agree with some of the restriping, but I understand it's about public safety and we'll all get used to it. But also taking opportunities like with Harvest Middle School and redeveloping that into something, a combination of things that the community needs. And Yountville is doing something similar.
I think sometimes government just gets lumped into a bunch of, a blender of inefficiency. There are things that government does well, John. And I think they have some incredible opportunities here to do something good, right? I think the frustration I get is just, I would have done it yesterday, right? So I hope they move forward quickly with a sense of urgency because there is some incredible opportunities. And look, it's not many times in life that an electorate, a body of folks are gonna be able to have a canvas to do something special. Like, that's exciting. If I would never run for office again, but if I could go back for a day, I would go do something magical with Harvest or Yountville, right? Like, that's cool. So I'm excited for them. I wish them luck. Anything we can do to help encourage them, John, to do something good, great. Don't hire consultants that are just going to slow walk this, right? Do it quickly. Have that sense of urgency because there's a ton of people waiting for that.
I think Calistoga, the city of Calistoga, is also looking at the same thing, having acquired the fairgrounds from the county, 70 plus acres. There's a massive opportunity up there. I know that there are some challenges about what to do, either repeat what used to be there or look to doing something new, but at least there are opportunities. Now, there will be critics, no question. We always, had to experience that also. Sometimes it's because people don't really see the full picture. One of the things that I worry about is when we have things like wildfire protection, and the county was doing a great job working with Napa Firewise, and then the federal government clawed back tens of millions of dollars. That really set back some of the great momentum that was already happening with wildfire protection. Hopefully some other opportunities like that can be found.
Well, and don't be afraid to ask for help, right? If you're Calistoga and you're trying to envision, a new entertainment hub, what a great opportunity to go ask folks that are doing it, like, the Bottle Rock guys, right? We just call them that. But if you're the Harvest Middle School and you want to talk about redevelopment, talk to folks. Keith Rogel, whether people like him or not. Napa Pipe, Vision, talk to people, bring people in to listen. Doesn't mean you agree with them, but you tap into that magic, right? So I hope people do that.
I think one of the other critical topics that local governments are going to need to stay aggressive on is housing, because we know that that's a challenge across all income levels to provide local housing for workforce, for people to have different opportunities wherever their life experience is. So we'll make sure that we keep letting our electeds know, keep up the hard work.
If I had a buzzer, John, I would buzz you right now because
I know we don't have a buzzer. No,
what about the next one? You want to talk about regulations,
I I know you do.
They're trying to limit the amount of water I can take, John, or they're creating new impact fees. How do you feel about that?
One of my frustrations with, so two related issues. One is the impact fees on new construction or expansion in the unincorporated area to, in theory, generate more affordable housing revenue. That's the theory. The other related issue that happened to come up within weeks of that first one is about groundwater extraction fees. And the problem I have with that one is, I get the fact they're trying to catch up to fees that haven't been changed for many years, but they're charging people regardless of how much water they're using. So it's really not about water sustainability. It's about creating another layer of tax. I know they call it a fee if you want. It's making people spend more money to do what they want to be able to do on their own property.
I don't know if Caleb saw, but I gripped the chair when you talked about fees. Look, I support affordable housing. We should build more. We have a social responsibility to build more. I think one of our guests is going to talk about that, John. But to say that you're raising fees on homes to build affordable housing, not true. I don't care how you color it. I don't care if it's big, bold red letters. It's not. It's a way to stop growth and seeing big ass homes being built. And by the way, those homes create a ton of property tax revenue. And guess what? Whether we can afford it or not, John, it's no one's business. If someone wants to go build a nice home, a big home, because they have the financial resources, as long as they're doing it responsibly, following our rules, power to them. But to increase the fees, John, like some are hundreds of thousands of dollars, that is not okay. So just call it what it is. It's a growth tool to stop growth, period, on the housing fees.
I remember when we were both still in office, you were on the Board of Soup still, and our assessor, John Tudor, made a presentation to the board about some reductions in property tax revenues for the county. It came up again this last year when I was sitting in that meeting. He talked about more losses in property tax revenues because they've reassessed properties. That's scary because you're now saying even if somebody owns a piece of property that has a zoning and certain property rights on it, yeah, but we don't want you to be able to do that on this property. That's hurting their value.
I would be willing to sit down on a pop quiz with any elected to see if they know the budget, right? Because what's scary is when you look at expenditure growth versus revenue, the pattern is not good. You cannot run any business the way we run government. Now, government's not a business. The problem is we've had things that have helped mask some of the revenue deficiencies we have, right? When fires happen and you have a home that's assessed for $500,000, let's just say because they bought it's protected under Prop 13. Fire happens, they sell. Now you go build a new massive house there for $5 million. John Tudor does his job and reassesses that home. We get the bump. So while we have had these unfortunate natural disasters, they've also been a bump in property taxes, which has masked some of the revenue issues and expenditure issues we have. This county is going to have to get real quick around the fiscal responsibility that we have. And curbing growth is not going to be the answer to it unless you want to go cut expenses. And how often does government do that, John?
Yeah, we talked about that previously too. And I worry also about the financial exposure many businesses, many property owners have as the wine industry has been struggling. Tourism has declined a bit, travel's down, but it's still our core foundational economy. And to make it harder to be successful, owning either vineyard property or winery is not helping.
Well, and what I would say, if the electorates who were elected want to increase fees, I've never seen them move so quick like on these topics. Why? So reach out, run focus groups, peer groups, get feedback around why you're increasing, why you're putting fees on groundwater extraction. What's the problem you're trying to solve? So the process is just as important as outcomes sometimes, John, but I think on these 2 points, they were very quick. I've never seen them move so quick.
One could also be suspicious about the timing of it happening basically during the holiday season and the end of the year, where not everybody's paying attention. I'm not that conspiracy theorist about it, but
shouldn't be.
Just saying, that's what it was.
What's next, John? What else?
Well, it's kind of related. I wanted to touch base again on the new state law, California state law about vineyard tastings, and it has helped many in the industry, but there is a sector that has really still been speaking out as frustrated, disappointed that they're not able to also do the same things that the state law is allowing because they don't have an alcohol license, the type 2 license that's required under the state law. The county could have allowed those other vintners that don't have a production facility, that are growing grapes, that want to host people to be able to sell. And I get that those are different state licenses, but this is I look back at this as kind of like the COVID years when we went out of our way, thankfully, to support our local businesses so that they could survive. And I'm not seeing that same attitude right now.
Look, I agree with you on that, right? And it was this fear that it was going to become something uncontrollable. And it's almost like it's a culture, John. Like there's this hesitation to try to help people in a time when there's a lot of hurt. And to me, I just wish there would have been greater urgency from the industry groups to say, no, help as many people as you can, right? The hurt is real. You're starting to see people sell. You're starting to see people not pick their grapes. I think there was 5,000 acres pulled recently maybe, and they should all be coming to John Tudor's office and asking for a property tax reduction. Like that's real, it's not hypothetical. And some people must say, well, that's good. Well, someone's getting hurt there, right? So I think we got to be honest around the hurt and acknowledge it. It doesn't mean that you have event centers at the top of Atlas Peak or Mount Veeder or Howell Mountain or Spring Mountain. But guess what? Those owners don't want that either, John.
Yeah, I think fear is often used as a reason to oppose, even though, we've seen it on the valley floor, we've seen it in the hills. Yeah. Sometimes there's some legitimacy behind it. Often it's just the NIMBYism of not in my neighborhood, not in my backyard. We like to use that public road for our private, walking the dog and riding bikes. And it's like, it doesn't work that way. Yeah. And let's remember every single home that exists in this valley used to not be there, and so that's part of being a community and allowing the development and the advancement of a community.
Well, and I'm going to move on. I'm going to surprise you by this one, John.
Uh-oh.
The general plan. The general plan is going to...
You were thirsty.
It was going to happen. It's going to happen. I should have taken a bigger gulp. But I hope that, and I want to be candid about it, it is an opportunity, John, to talk about vision and values of where this county's going. And it should get loaded up with environmental values. It should get loaded up with economic goals. It should get loaded up with quality of life objectives. But having a conversation where people can actually put that on the table should be real. And I hope the elected leaders take that opportunity to create those platforms. And it's not running focus groups with consultants that do, okay, tell me what you think of 1 through 5. No, listen to people.
You don't want to put the Post-it notes?
No, I've done so many of those. There, I will not go. There's different ways to engage the community, but thoughtfully engage, right? Not just the same old people that go. I want to challenge government to say, how do you go to that mom or dad that's running around at 3 soccer practices? I'm not bringing that up because I have soccer practice after this, John. But how do you get them engaged? How do you also get someone like my mom, right, engaged? How do you get someone that goes to the senior center? Challenge yourself to get input in a way that you can incorporate it. Because what we did last time, John, everyone poked at it. Well, what doesn't done right? Okay, then do it right. But we were below some of the goals, John, and this is the opportunity to say, guess what? We do need agriculture to thrive. Guess what? Going and tasting wine doesn't cut it anymore like we did before, right? Going to a hotel has to be different. Going into a restaurant or seeing economic development has to look different and feel different if we want people to remain competitive. If we want people to earn good wages, John, they have to be able to afford to pay good wages. And that is going to get loaded up. And what an incredible opportunity, right, to talk about the general plan and to talk about that in a way that it brings people together.
I want to add kind of like a bonus section to that, and that is what I'm seeing. And yes, I'm biased about this, but what I'm seeing the Napa Chamber of Commerce do with LabStart and with folks like 300 Venture Group that are building this incredible development downtown Napa, and they're looking at economic opportunities. There's an economic outlook conference, and there are plans and strategies that are being built so that things could evolve and be positive add-ons to not just the city of Napa, but the whole valley. And I would like to see that happening throughout the entire valley. It isn't yet, but I think it's key that the individual communities can work on their own focus, but also need to be part of the broader Napa County community so that we can be more integrated.
Well, it's a simple thing. Like, you have this massive project happening before us, John. I wonder if any elected official has reached out to that owner and said, what can we do to help? Like, just think about that mentality of government's here to help. And that's scary for a lot of people. But locally, you can do that, right? It gives them confidence. Says, you know what? We got the winds with us. Like, it's those type of things that are so meaningful, because I'm looking at that project, John, and I'm seeing hundreds of people work that are going home with money to provide for their families. They're not complaining. They're excited to work. And Napa, the city of Napa, to be fair, created this opportunity. And we should give them credit because they're doing something positive. That takes purpose. That takes intentionality.
I know that staff is staying very connected, partly because they have to oversee what's going on, but also, to your point, to make sure that if there are hurdles that pop up, that they can figure out solutions for that. I think this is an add-on. This is not just about a replacement of what used to be downtown. Frankly, things closed, corporate businesses, made decisions and moved out. And instead of leaving them abandoned for decades, there have been some parcels. We know that there's a major parcel in the city that's still recovering from the 2014 earthquake. And it doesn't help when those properties stay empty, and not only from the financial value that they add, but it just takes away some of the vibrancy of the community.
Well, and I think we're on 5 topics already, but we were down here for the Light Art Festival, John, and we were walking, right? It was my son's soccer team, and they walked around as a team, and it was awesome, right? So I do want to challenge locals, our friends and family members and neighbors. This is our community. And I know we've hit on that theme before, but engage. Like, we're out here, and we went to the yard for dinner with the kids that can run around. It's contained, so you can't lose a kid, maybe into the river. But you're engaging in it. And I know, not just because it's your wife, but the Chamber of Commerce is taking a proactive step of saying, what's our value proposition? How can we do it differently? And I think the wine industry should do the same, right? When you travel, you don't need to be a tourist to go to a winery. You shouldn't have to be a tourist to go to a winery, right? So I embrace what we've done.
But there's also open-mindedness about innovation and bringing different types of businesses here. And there are some properties that are empty that can be repurposed. There are also just new ideas to bring that can make it exciting. And just because something was here doesn't mean something else can't come here. I'm a huge supporter of the evolution of communities so that they don't get stale. And a lot of people will remember what downtown Napa used to look like. It was empty. Storefronts were empty. And it is vibrant now. And they've really made a concerted effort to resurrect the largest city we have in the county. And that's going to help everybody.
Great. Are we wrapping up, John, or is there more topics?
Unless you wanted to say something else about the general plan.
No. I made my point, John.
Cheers.
I think that was very well executed.